I was imagining 8.5, 9-foot tall rabbits, which for us is like a medium-sized puppet.
Some of them are artists, and some of them, many people walk into our workshops and say, I'm not an artist, I don't know how to do anything, and we're there to prove them wrong.
It's like, well, the head is about this big, the ears are this, so the hips would have to be here, and the arms would have... By the time you've scaled it all out, it gets big. I mean, it's 12, 13 feet tall. If you say giant puppet, for a lot of people, you know, you had me at giant puppet. That's all we need to know. Bring on some puppets and do whatever it is that you do. And, you know, you would never hire a painter to say, come in and just paint something, do whatever you do. You know, they'd want to know, well, what is your work about? What are you interested in? What kind of painting are you going to do?
The following is an urgent weather message. A high wind warning is in effect for the following locations. All of central New York and northeast Pennsylvania until 5 p.m. Tuesday. Winds will begin to increase by early this afternoon, with winds likely reaching their peak intensities from late in the day.
Alex and I work together to design and create site-specific and community-built processions, parades, events.
It can be 30 people in an Italian village with no audience carrying lanterns that were made using literally kindergarten techniques. Or it can be something that involves synchronizing 8 video projectors on the right note of a Future Sound of London soundtrack that has to last exactly 90 seconds or the performance will be pushed on by the police.
The Halloween parade is the largest, well, the Village Voice described it as the largest theatrical event in New York City, but it's the largest Halloween celebration in the world as well.
For Halloween, it really is, we develop a theme and we create a performance that articulates that theme.
We designed a mechanical rabbit who had himself become the clockwork that was the guiding principle of his life.
Sophia, as a young girl, 12, 13-year-old girl, was in the parade in the Dragons and Ladies section. And so she got her first hit, I think, of the parade dancing as a lady.
I wanted to become an architect. And I definitely was always interested in making things, and I was always interested in space. I got involved in set design when I was in college, and in fact, in many ways, that satisfied a lot of what I was looking for in architecture, but in a more immediate way. I came to work for the Halloween parade and started working with Alex, and just taking that mode of thinking outside of the theater and onto the street made total sense to me.
Housing? Yes. Is typically this one on what I would consider the wrong one.
For the Halloween parade, we're sort of in production for the whole month of October. We started what we call puppet raisings, sort of drawing on the idea of the barn raising, and we are in an old barn.
That's part of Rokeby Farm, which is an ancestral home of a lineage of Livingston, Astor, and Aldrich family members.
11 generations, I think, is the count. I'd have to double check.
Oh, the hoops are smaller. Not the same size. So who was in charge of the hoops, right?
I just assumed the hoops were perfect.
I know, I did too.
Right? That makes me nervous because you know what? I measured them with a tape.
Yeah, these all look like they're the size of this one, right?
Yeah. No.
Reasonable. The workshops take place in what had been a cow barn. It had 40 cows in it. It burned in the 60s, and Ricky Aldrich rebuilt the roof. He put this massive gambrel roof on, which has no post and beam support. And what that means is that giant puppets can freely, or dirigibles for that matter, can freely go in and out of the barn.
And it's still a center for people to come to get involved, to work with us, to sort of be invited in some way, even though maybe inviting people to come and dip their hands in paper mache and cover clay armatures was not necessarily what my grandmother, great-grandmother, or great-great-grandmother would have done. But
Sustained winds to tropical storm force are occurring from southern New England through Long Island. Hurricane force winds extend outward up to 175 miles, and tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 485 miles.
Oh, we have one of the X's. Half of the X was not glued.
Uh-oh.
Whoop.
We can fix that.
Yep. Right. Glue.
Or it might have been...
Glue. Something. These are going to be big hoop skirts.
So it's kind of like a dress that people are going to wear, and there's going to be something that's kind of like a giant hula hoop at the bottom edge, so as they spin, the numbers will turn.
The theme comes about in all different kinds of ways. For a long time, we were thinking about themes that had to do with like reinterpreting Halloween. What's like a modern take? What's today's take on Halloween? But often the theme comes out of the zeitgeist.
How you all doing?
Great. We have good omens for performance, even if they're bad omens for weather. So this year's theme is TikTok. And what we're doing is creating a narrative that explores the various faces of time. There is the linear time that we know of as being kept by mechanical artifice. That's the kind of time that is ticking away from us. That gives us a strong sense of you're born, and at some point you leave this earth and you have limited time here. And then on the other face of time, we have more a cyclical sense of time. The return of seasons. That's a much less anxious sort of time. It's more fulfilling, and it's a time by which we kind of mark the rhythm of our lives. How are we going to manifest that? Well, we chose the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland as our guide. In the story, you meet the White Rabbit. He's got his pocket watch, and he's like, I'm late. He's running around. He's completely frantic. He feels that anxiety of linear time. And if that's not bad enough, he's being harried by the flying alarm clocks. So in our piece, time truly does fly. So basically, the rabbit is us, being harried by clocks. So it's a way of reinforcing these two different types of time that we're seeing unfold before our very eyes. We have this dream time, this carousel that is just doing this beautiful circle. And at the same time, we see linear, sort of profane time on the outside. So this should all be very clear to the audience on 6th Avenue. We've sent out the pamphlets. I've never done puppet theater. I don't really know much about it. But instead, really looked towards carnivalesque expressions, street parades, Buddhist rituals as kind of my genre, my wellspring. And so somewhere along that line, I was invited to work for the Halloween parade and saw these incredible puppets that Debbie Lee Cohen and Mark Kinchy and Maya Kanazawa were building in the years before Sophia and I were designing.
There's always been a tradition of making puppets at Rokeby. When I took over the parade in the 8th year from Ralph Lee, we were making the puppets here.
we're in our home shop. We know the lay of the land. We have developed over many years a fantastic group of volunteers.
You walk into this place, there are drawings on the wall of a vision for what we want to do, and essentially jobs on the tables. And so everybody can trace into each puppet the lineage of their own handiwork.
These are cogs that are eventually going to be worn as part of the hoop skirts for the coggy people.
Cogs, painting, yellow, lots of yellow paint.
Cutting up cardboard, slicing up my fingers.
Empanadas. The soup.
We were doing, what were we doing?
Puppies.
It's like having superpowers that, like, one day you look at the shop and the list is this long and you're like, oh my God, I'll never get it done. And the next day it's just like, here's 50 gears, put them on the rabbits.
People become experts in things that they'll never have to do again.
But for the person who's just doing the bunny ears, they're going to spend all day, and those are going to be some kick-ass bunny ears.
Hurricane warning. This afternoon, north to northeast winds 45 to 60 knots.
Record coastal flooding is forecast to continue for this evening.
Our events are always outdoors. Weather is always going to be a factor, whether it's good weather, bad weather, terrible weather, blah weather.
Although it is a pretty robust performance rain-wise. I mean, I wouldn't go out in a hurricane because there'd be no point from a volunteer perspective. But, you know, I mean, some of these costumes are made of umbrellas. It's
the interactions between people, the weather, the police, the whole entire thing.
We've gone out with, you know, half a mile of blue Japanese silk into a driving rainstorm.
It looked beautiful for 10 minutes, and then it looked like blue rat tails that people were diligently waving up and down.
Just going, 1, I am a billowing wave. 2, I am an ocean. Going like this, and I just loved the expressions of the audience. They were just like, what are they doing? Is it a cult?
But it was so absurd that there was this real sort of group spirit that formed.
Everybody was just like, we are an armada of wet, stringy things, and nothing can stop us. The boats were melting, and the lanterns were starting to peel away. I mean, it was like watching the deconstruction of the parade in the parade.
Thank you. Rigel. No, that's Rigel.
Again, remember the ladle.
The one going in at the top. Yeah,
that goes in like that.
Yeah, and that's it.
We respond to the materials and to the workflow and to the people who come and to, you know, things we discover along the way.
So, you know, we've used professional yacht racing spinnaker cloth that we got from a manufacturer on City Island as a second. We've used, you know, LEDs and electroluminescent wire. We've used coroplast. It's technique in service to idea and not the other way around. So, having said that, cardboard is, you know, one of the most miraculous materials that modern waste culture has generated for artists.
And they've gotten to really know us at the recycling depot here in town. They love us.
Most of the time, I'm not above dumpster diving, and then you discover other things along the way.
It is a call and response. You know, people come in and they do something. Maybe they make a mistake, and you look at the mistake and you're like, that's not bad. I kind of like that.
They're handing a thing off to somebody else who's doing the next stage, who's handing it off to somebody else, and it's working its way up the chain. So by the end of the day, you see, you know, really effective and elegant things that have taken place.
I've talked to everybody about how slow motion works.
But also the stationary hands was looking really good.
Well, we're just getting ready for our tech rehearsal, which will be this afternoon. So that's an opportunity for us to do a number of things. One, we've never seen the piece.
It's the difference between something that looks like machinery, whereas as opposed to just, I'm wearing a fun dress.
Yeah. No one, I mean, a few people have tried on bits of the costumes, but none of the bigger puppets have been animated by the people who are going to be puppeteering them on Halloween.
There was a thought at one time that no one should watch the parade, that everyone should be in it. But I think it's the give and take that really makes it exciting.
Okay. When the music sounds, you freeze wherever you are.
Oh, okay. So we're not like a ring around it.
You're not a ring around it, yeah.
Oh, good.
Exactly.
Today is where if something's going to break, we learn that, oh, that's the weak spot. This is rubbing against that. That tends to snap. But also comfort things for the performers. And then beyond that, really more importantly, getting people feeling like this is a body extension.
Yours is too in, I think, the legs.
Oh, are you wider?
Yeah. Maybe.
Boom.
Well, I have certain
Boom. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I got it backwards. My bad.
Because remember, he's landing on the back of a tortoise.
They might not have come in expecting ever to be performers, but by the time they've gone through one or more workdays, they see it as an inevitability.
People's sense of who they are changes during the course of the performance. If you start out as a stockbroker from Wall Street, but you're dressed as a flying nun, by the end of the night, you're a flying nun.
Not too fast, right?
No, yeah, super slow. And you can, and also you don't have to stay in place. You can just, I mean, you are going to be marching forward, so. No.
I mean, they've been working on the project, they kind of want to follow it in performance, and then suddenly they find themselves performing in front of, if it's in the Halloween parade, an audience of 2 million people, without having to deliver a line, without that pressure, with all these other people, where people are looking at the puppet they're carrying, and they're completely liberated because they have this crowd cheering for them. It's an amazing experience.
You are listening to No Weather Radio Hamburg Station WXM31 on a frequency of 162.400 megahertz. The following is an urgent weather message.
At 2 p.m., 1800 UTC, the center of Hurricane Sandy was located by an Air Force Reserve Hurricane Hunter aircraft and NOAA Doppler weather radars.
A coastal flood warning indicates that moderate or major tidal flooding is imminent or occurring.
If you live in a flood-prone area, be prepared to move to higher ground.
Many roads are also likely to be blocked, closed, or at least littered with debris.
The flood waters are expected to recede only slightly this afternoon before levels begin to rise again.
Sandy is now moving toward the northwest near 28 miles per hour.
The strongest winds are expected tonight and may cause power outages for most of the region.
Moderate to major property damage is likely with the possibility of severe damage.
At home, you should be prepared to be without power for several days. Make sure you have adequate supplies of food and medicine.
The maximum sustained winds remain near 90 miles per hour. This is an extremely dangerous situation.
Take appropriate action to protect life and property.
Hurricane Sandy will make landfall late today on the New Jersey coast.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as I was concerned, Halloween happened. It happened in an altered form.
I love the rehearsal because it is more intimate, because we don't have all of the lights of 6th Avenue and we don't have, you know, all the audience. It's sort of our own little thing.
I kind of came of age as an artist looking at people throwing disposable butter sculptures off cliffs in the Himalayas. To me, this is work that has a kind of inherent disposability to it.
It's totally a process of giving it away. You know, it starts with one idea and it just grows and grows and grows until finally, the night of the parade, it belongs to everyone.
We are in fact creating ephemeral architecture in a way, that we alter the space that these events take place in, even if it's just for the one night, but the memory of it lasts.